to bury came back alive. Her crisis was never just about a dead child. It was about a hope she had already buried long before God ever touched it. And that is what makes this story so unsettling. It reaches past the miracle and exposes something deeper, something many people quietly live with. A life that looks whole on the outside, but has carefully edited out certain desires on the inside. In 2 Kings chapter 4 verse 8 to 37, this woman appears steady, intentional, and generous. She recognizes Elisha as a man of God and creates space for him in her home. She serves without hesitation. She gives without being asked. Nothing about her presentation suggests lack. Nothing about her signals longing. But God does not respond to what is visible. But God does not respond to what is visible. He responds to what is true. When Elisha asks how he can bless her, she says she is content. And that word sounds spiritual, but in this moment, it is protective. It is the language of someone who has made peace with disappointment. Hi, Melissa. She has trained herself to live without what she desired. And then Gehazi speaks what she refused to say. She has no son, and her husband is old. And suddenly, the very thing is named. Elisha declares the promise, and her response is immediate. Do not deceive me. That is not unbelief. That is memory. That is a woman who knows what it costs to hope and has already decided she cannot afford it again. But God does not negotiate with our emotional boundaries. He steps over them. The child is born. And now she is in dangerous territory. Why? Because hope, once fulfilled, creates attachment. And attachment creates vulnerability. The very thing she avoided has now become part of her daily life. She did not just receive a promise, she grew to love it. And then in a single afternoon, it is gone. About noon, the child died, as in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 20. No warning, no gradual decline, just loss. And it happens in the most intimate place possible, in her lap. The same place that once held fulfillment now holds silence. This is the moment she feared all along. But watch her response. She carries the boy to Elijah's room, lays him on the bed, shuts the door, and leaves. No public collapse, no scattered reaction. When asked if everything is all right, she answers, it is well. This is not denial. This is precision. She refuses to process this loss anywhere except in the presence of the one connected to the promise. She will not let this pain be diluted by casual conversation or shallow comfort. She is focused. But when she reaches Elijah, the restraint breaks. Did I ask you for a son? Didn't I say, do not deceive me? This is not just grief speaking, brothers and sisters. This is a wound that predates the child. She is saying, I had already accepted a life without this. I had already adjusted. Why did you reopen something I worked so hard to close. That is the real tension of the story. Sometimes, brothers and sisters, the deepest pain is not loss itself, but the fact that you allowed yourself to love again. Many people are not distant. Why? Because they are cold. They are distant because they are disciplined in self-protection. They have built a life that functions without risk. They serve, they give, they show up. But certain areas are permanently off limits. And then God touches that area, not to harm, but to heal. Not to expose for shame, but to restore for life. Elisha enters the room. He does not rush the moment. He does not offer explanations. He stretches himself over the child, face to face, hands to hands, remaining there until warmth returns. This is a picture of how God works. He does not stand at a distance from your pain. He enters it fully, intentionally, patiently. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in spirit. And you will find this in Psalm 34, verse 18. Brothers and sisters, God is not intimidated by the places you have sealed off. He is not offended by your guardedness. He understands what built it. And in his mercy, he will come close enough to confront it. Not to destroy you, but to bring life back to what you thought had to stay dead. I'm glad you're listening, Melissa. The child sneezes 7 times and opens his eyes, and life returns. But something else is resurrected too, her capacity to hope without fear. And this is where the story turns personal. You can build a whole life around being composed, dependable, and fine. You can function at a high level while quietly refusing to revisit certain desires. You can convince yourself that this is maturity, when in reality, it is survival. But God sees beyond your functionality. He sees the places where you have made silent agreements. I will serve, but I will not expect. I will give, but I will not risk. I will believe, but only within limits. And in his love, he will challenge those limits. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask for or imagine, as in Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20. The question is not whether God will come near those hidden places. He will. It is not whether he will come. The real question is how you interpret his approach. Do you see danger or do you recognize mercy? Which of the two? Because sometimes God, because sometimes God will allow you to feel again in areas you deliberately numbed. He will bring you face to face with desires you tried to bury. He will reopen doors you quietly closed. Not to mock your past pain, but to prove that your past pain does not have the final word. So ask yourselves honestly. Ask yourself, Melissa, what is the one thing you trained yourself not to name? What part of your strength is actually self-protection in disguise? What have you called contentment that is really just fear of disappointment? God is not asking you to pretend that those fears do not exist. No. He is inviting you to trust him inside them. Because the same God who loved the promise is the same God who sustains it. And even when it feels like everything has gone silent, he is still working in the room you thought was closed. Amen and amen. A beautiful story or a beautiful message about the hope she tried to bury. Beautiful. I hope you liked it, Melissa. I hope you liked it. These are the little short videos I'm sharing on my platform. God bless you. See you in a moment for adoration.